Good evening, friends, and welcome back to session 2 in the series of the Entrepreneur Development Program for Foodpreneurs. Our topics for today include setting up your home kitchen and the licenses and formalities required for the same. I have also arranged for a brief outline on cloud kitchens because that's a big buzzword today. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. So you can type it into the chat window and I will take up these questions at the end of each part. Joining me for today's session are Rhea Bharucha and Pashang Shroff for the first part of the evening's program. And Amey Krishna will take us through the licenses and the cloud kitchen. Those of you who were part of the first session will recognize Rhea and Pasangh, who have once again come to my rescue and spared their precious time to interact with us. For those of you who missed our earlier session, let me give you a very brief introduction to them. Rhea is a pastry chef and owner of Baked by Rhea, churning out delectable brownies and cakes on order since 2016. Her brownies are a passion all over Mumbai, and my personal favorite is the creme brulee brownie, though Rhea claims the white magic is the one in demand. Pasangh is a chef trained at Le Cordon Bleu in Ottawa, Canada, and while his training roots lie in French cuisine, he's equally passionate about Kashmiri cuisine after being trained under a Wazwan. Pasangh runs his kitchen in Mumbai under the name of the Culinary Wazwan. So let's jump right in, Rhea and Pasangh, and let's go through an initial discussion on the setup of the home kitchen. So we'll take the points as they appear on the slide because then people can, understand what we're talking about. As is with everything else creative, I'm guessing that a good ambience is important for the kitchen. Pasangh, what's your mantra for ambience?
I think ambience is very, very important. I go by the mantra, let the natural light shine in your kitchen. It's very, very important to have a connection of, natural light and artificial light coming together, because while you're cooking in the kitchen as well, you want to take very, very important pictures as well. That's one very important thing. Also nowadays in these modular kitchens, there are places, where they have these walls with these herbs, so, you want to have natural sunlight coming onto that wall, so because you want to use these often used herbs, like let's say oregano, rosemary, thyme, you want to grow it right there. So, that gives a very, very, how do I put it, a dynamic and very inviting effect to your kitchen.
Rhea, would you agree? And what kind of environment works for you?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Pasangh. For me, daylight, sunlight is very important in my kitchen. I love working in that kind of if you can say like a positive light with the sun shining in every morning. It really kind of motivates me to work. And yeah, he's absolutely right. Artificial light as well is really important. I work very late at night, so the artificial light for me as well is extremely important. I want everything to be very clear on my workspace.
Yeah, for me too. I think what I think is important is to make that your personal space, because you're spending so much time in your kitchen. So like for me, a potted plant, whether it be herbs or something pretty, a flower, even if I know we have space constraints in most apartment kitchens. But if you can find any space to put even a money plant, that's small and doesn't require much care, it makes that space your own. And I think the important word is motivates you to work. So I'm hoping that all my foodpreneurs here will tomorrow go into their kitchen and look at what it is that they can add to make that space their personal space that motivates them to work. I'm going to take the next 2 points together because I think they're very closely related. So for me, I'm really big on organization and order. I need my ingredients at hand. If I'm going through a recipe, you know, mentally, I need to know, yes, this is what I'll be using. And for me, time and motion principles are top. And I'm not only talking about kitchen, I've used this when I've been in the corporate world, or even if I'm working at my desk. And it's very easy to explain what I mean by time and motion principles. So if I have a desk set up, my pen pencil stand will always be on my right. I will arrange the desk because I write with my right hand. If I put that pencil stand on my left, I have to do one of two things. I have to either reach over and pick that pencil, or I have to pick it with my left hand and transfer it to my right. Now, when you process that, you will realize that picking it up with my right hand is a far faster, less time consuming, and less motion than it is for me to do it with my left hand. If we can work with this order in the kitchen, we will be much faster and more organized. You guys agree with me, Pasangh, Rhea?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
So Rhea, for you, because baking requires so much, you know, it's really a question of having everything organized.
Yeah.
I think more so than culinary. What do you do to organize that workbench?
So very importantly, you're right, baking is a very precise science. So all my ingredients, number one, are always measured in advance. Number one, of course, because I want to save time. So a little trick that I do though is I measure all my ingredients and I actually place them in the order that I will be using them. So for me, I have my mixing bowl in front of me and I have my ingredients lined up. Let's say if they're like 5 to 7 boxes, but I have them in the order that I need them. So that way I'm very fast in just picking up step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It goes very fast that way. So that is one way that I organize it and makes me go much, much faster. And secondly, I don't have time to in between remember, have I added in, let's say, the baking soda, the baking powder. So I need everything measured and ready beforehand. I go through my ingredients, I see that I've measured everything, it's all there in front of me. Then I don't need to worry about missing something. I don't need to worry about going and running back to the fridge to get an egg or, you know, do all of that. Everything is in front of me. And most importantly for me, everything I prefer at room temperature. So I usually measure out all my ingredients in advance, including like taking the eggs out of the fridge and all, and I leave them out for a while before I actually start making my orders.
Pasangh, how do you do it? Do you do it as you go along, or do you also set up well beforehand?
I think the few initial things when you're working in a hot kitchen, even though that needs to be set up. So the most important thing, I think, setting up your chopping board is the very first thing that you want to do. Then you want to go on to, you know, your set of knives and your tools, you know, that are required. Because let's say you're following a recipe, you just look at the recipe and you know these are the things that are required. You know that these are the tools that you're going to require. You make a short list as well if you want to do it that way, because I've learned it that way at Cordon Bleu. So you do that, then you go on to your, you know, your trays, your bowls, whatever you need. So like, you know, one where you get all your ingredients. The second one is probably for, you know, your peels and your little bit of thrash that is going to be there. And the last thing is, you know, going to be your prepped finished product.
Right. So certainly we need some sort of organization in the kitchen.
Absolutely, yeah. Otherwise it's going to be haywire in the kitchen.
Okay, so clean as you go. I think there should be order in chaos, even in the kitchen. But we have to find a balance. So, you know, we can't be obsessed about running to the sink every time our hands get a little messy, or wash each bowl, you know, as we use it. I think it's a very fine balance between having flour and sugar over the countertop, or, you know, onion garlic peels on the floor. I'm sure little bits of coriander. where do we draw this line? Can we just go messing up the kitchen to the very end and then do one big clean? Or do you think it's better to clean as you go? Pasangh?
It's definitely not a nice way where, you want to like make a mess of the kitchen and then just clean it at the end. I think clean as you go, or, your regular HACCP, your hazard analysis critical control point system, that is being taught to you in any basic food production or, food service course as well, standard. That's clean as you go is like a standard work practice in the food industry now. Cleaning all your food prep tools, when the food is cooking, that's one thing you can do in between, while the food is happening. Like once you're done, once you're done with all the tools that are not required and your food is already on the stove or it's in the oven, you start cooking, you start cleaning the tools that are not required anymore. That's less things on your work surface already.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's really good.
And like I said earlier, like a 3-step process of, one bowl where all your ingredients are there, the other where the trash and the peel is there. You can just refurbish that. You can throw that off and, clear that bowl up, and then your finished product as well. So, these 3 steps, they're definitely a part of clean as you go as well. It helps in that. So clean as you go is the way, definitely. I think so.
Rhea, you think so too?
Absolutely. I completely agree with Pasangh. For me, I work with my mom as well. So she and I are absolute opposites in a lot of ways, but we both agree with this thing of clean as you go. Although she is definitely more obsessed with it. She will be like measuring one thing, picking it all up, cleaning, measuring the next thing, picking it all up again, cleaning. I can't do that, to be honest. But at the same time, I'm also very particular that everything around me needs to be neat and clean. So for example, I would measure, let's say, all my dry ingredients. So whether it's a sugar, flour, and it does sometimes tend to spill. Yes. And if I have like, let's say 6 different flavors of brownies, so they're like 6 different sugars that need to be measured, for example, then it does get messy. So what I like to do is measure out all the dry ingredients, then pick everything up and clean it off at one time. Then maybe go on to my wet ingredients, measure all that, then clean it up. So definitely don't like the concept of having like even a corner that's just dirty and messy. Yeah. Because I feel that attracts also a lot of cockroaches, mosquitoes, and all that, which you don't want in your kitchen. It's just basic hygiene.
True. Great. Let's come to crisis situation. I think it would be naive of us to think that every day would be this seamless, absolutely no hiccups, nothing. Very, very naive. I think even on an ordinary day, you would have a hiccup or two. But when I talk crisis, I'm talking really big crisis. When I had my restaurant, many customers used to tell me, oh, how lucky you are, Zarine, to own a cafe like this. How lucky you are to have customers like this. How lucky. I said, Lady Luck never entered my doors. It's been a hell of a lot of hard work. And the only person who ever lived in my kitchen was Murphy. So what are we talking about, Lady Luck, So you're faced with, you're running out of ingredients, or you have forgotten to buy something, or just when you wanted to add milk, you realize it's split. Your recipe demands 8 eggs, but you can only find 7, and somebody has helped themselves to 1. So how do you cope? You cannot fall apart, right? You have to, at that moment, if you've got an order on hand, you've got to really start thinking on your feet. Do you have any such experiences to share with us, Pasangh?
I remember there are a couple of instances actually, but there was this one instance where I was doing roast lamb for about 10 to 15 people. So it was a really huge chunk that was already in the oven. It was looking nice and a little brown, from the top when I checked it. And then all of a sudden I was doing my work on my sauce. And so I wasn't paying attention to the oven. But then when I look back, the oven was like it was turned off. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, oh my God. Like, so, that's one point where I want to point out to people that, you can't get nervous and you can't freak out at that point where, like, but when you're in that position, you're actually freaking out. Definitely. It's a very difficult situation that you have to handle. And that's the only meat you have. And, there's no other choice. It has to be cooked properly. It has to go out on time. Like I had maybe an hour and a half that was left before it had to be delivered to the person's place. So what I did, and what, again, I want to say what cordon bleu teaches you is that, when things like these happen, what you have to do to adjust, things that you have to do from scratch, basically. So the thing is, what I did was I just put it in a big pan on a double boiler and on the gas, and I just let it cook. And I had my meat thermometer on me, luckily. So I had to keep poking it to check till it was done. And it took a little longer than usual, but thank God it was done. And it was not up to my satisfaction, exactly the consistency and everything that I was looking for. But at the end of the day, if what I delivered and the customers enjoyed it, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yep. Rhea, do you have any such experience?
Yes, definitely. I mean, let me be honest, I mess up a lot in the kitchen. It's never really as easy breezy as it sounds. But absolutely agree with Pasangh that you always kind of need to have a backup method. So let's say, like in his example, his oven packed up and then he didn't know what to do, but he already had that knowledge to have the roast lamb being cooked another way.
Right.
So for me, it's like if my electric beater, let's say, very often has just like kaput and gone off. And I need to then be able to whisk egg whites or mix the batter or by hand. It's just, you need to make it work either way. And one thing that I've kind of really realized in all my years of working is that it always pays to have extra of an item that you're making for an order. And I'll tell you a very quick and funny story about that. So my mom has been working and has been a caterer for years and years. And we would have orders. She does everything. She caters dinners and desserts, everything. So we always had a rule in this house that anything that's in the fridge or outside and all, if it's in a fancy crystal bowl or if it's decorated nicely, it's not for the house people. It's not for you to eat as a snack. So it was, my dad's a doctor, so he had come home very late one night after an emergency and he was quite hungry, and God knows what possessed him to dig into this apricot mousse that my mom had made for an order. It was in this gorgeous big bowl, and he has taken a spoon and nicely like dug himself a nice serving just from the center of that bowl and happily eaten it and gone to sleep, and we were all fast asleep. Next morning, we take out this mousse to send out, and the driver was at the door, came to pick up the order, and there is a chunk gone in the middle of it. And we were just panicking. But luckily, my mom had an extra little bit of mousse in a takeaway bowl. So we managed to sort of cut out that exact shape, fill up the hole, decorate it and everything. You would not have known anything was wrong with it. So that was just really a savior. And I've always realized after that, it's always very good to have extras. So even if I have 12 cupcakes going, I will make 14 or 15. I always need a little extra.
Yeah, that's a good tip. So I think, yeah, the learning is appliances have a backup, ingredients, have a backup. If you're making quantities, cater for that, something that falls apart, your frying kebabs, you often have, so keep enough mutton mince for that. And I think the important thing is not to fall apart. My rule for myself is if I'm freaking out, I give myself 2 minutes. I can do anything. I can cry in those 2 minutes. I can bang my head against the wall, but just 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, start finding the solution instead of dwelling on the problem, because the problem is not going to find its own solution. So that's where we've covered crisis. Help in the kitchen. are we prepared to be Superman, Superwoman? I will, go at it all alone. I don't need anybody in the kitchen. I think that takes it a bit far, though I frankly don't like people hovering around me, but we have to admit there are areas that we need help in. So Rhea, where would you ask for help and why? And then Pasangh, we'll move to you.
So I definitely also don't like someone hovering over my shoulder and telling me what to do. I prefer that way, working alone. And actually I enjoy, it's like therapeutic for me to be mixing batter and stuff. So I enjoy all that, but definitely need help in, like, let's say the washing up, that gets a lot. And there are a lot of equipment that I need to keep using one after the other. So I definitely have my house help who helps with the washing up. And all the other kind of things like making my cake boxes, lining my tins with butter paper, all those things that take up a lot of time, I use the help for that. But in actually measuring out, mixing, all that I need to be there.
Pasangh, where do you require help?
I think I agree with Rhea, what she says about, it's not humanly possible for one person to do everything in a kitchen. I'm sure every chef would absolutely like it to be that way, but things would go crazy if that happens. I mean, it's just not possible for you to do it on your own. So for me, it would be, I would hire the one person, and then I would teach that person, everything from, pre-prepping or, exactly what they have to do. Let's say I fall sick one day and I can't do it, but, the show must go on, it just can't stop. When you say that you're going to be delivering this food at this time, you can't expect the client to understand that something's gone wrong at your home or, somewhere. You have to get it done. So you want to train your staff or that one person in such a way, that they're able to, replicate you on a certain day if that is needed as well. So, yeah.
So the takeaway then is to try and have somebody trained as a backup, at least to do the basic work, and concentrate that help on tasks that don't need expertise so that you can then concentrate on the finer details rather than getting caught up in, let's say, dishwashing. Though I have to admit, in a restaurant kitchen, you can never undermine the importance of a dishie. We, in our kitchen, any new person that joined, and it didn't matter at what level and from which institute he came, he or she went onto the dishes, because, everybody tends to bully the dishie and thinks that, he's on the lowest rung. But the day the dishie doesn't come, your entire kitchen will fall apart. So we do say that we will leave the dishwashing to somebody else, but that somebody else is a very important part of your business. So let's keep that in mind as well. Great. So why don't we then move on to what equipment is required in the kitchen? I have a few important things here, and the oven is something I would like to talk about because, Pasangh, most of us home cooks do not use the oven in the same way that you professional cooks do. Honestly, even today, even though I am now more aware of what can be done in the oven, I still tend to use the oven more to bake and to grill. Whereas you guys finish off everything in the oven. Xerxes, I know, would say, Mom, we cannot do without an oven in the kitchen. And I said, yeah, we have. He said, that's not enough. When oven, I don't mean an OTG. I mean a proper oven. And of course, today you get the works. So what do you use the oven for? And, how important is it, you think, for a home cook to have an oven?
So according to me, I feel convection microwave oven is the minimum necessity that should be there in any kitchen household. Okay. Like, for example, even if I'm frying fish or, cooking a piece of meat on the pan, I want to finish it off in the oven. I want to put the whole thing in the oven in the end, because first of all, let's say let's say you're using a Teflon coated pan also, and it is not helping you with uniform cooking, right? While as when you're putting, let's say you fry the fish, you just turn it and you just put it in the oven just like that, then you're letting it cook from all sides in the oven, like it's happening 360 degrees. There's uniform cooking everywhere happening, and it's a much better finished product once it comes out of the oven than it's going to be in the pan.
Get it. So for you, everybody
so for
should
me,
have...
it's my go-to appliance. Definitely my go-to appliance.
Okay, Rhea, we know you cannot function without the oven. But if we do have people who have started baking businesses from home, what would your advice be in terms of an oven? Do they look for size? Do they look for quality? What should they look for?
So honestly, for me, the size is very important because when you're especially doing, like, let's say cakes from home, usually if your cakes are good, of course, you're not going to get just one cake a day. You're going to get, let's say, 6 orders. So you have to be able to churn out 6, 7, 10 cakes a day. So I need an oven that's going to give me the maximum output as possible. So for example, my oven takes 8 dozen of my brownies at one time. So I managed to put in that much. So for me, size matters a lot. I don't have a lot of experience working with an electric oven because ever since my mom started work, we have a Westinghouse brand oven, which is a gas oven. So we, touch wood, have never had to change that. It's really a fantastic oven. And even today, it gives us like the best quality in all our cakes and food as well. So I don't have so much experience in electric ovens, but for me, I really love the way a gas oven gets out my products. I've used an electric oven and I don't particularly like the outcome of it. But again, I have no real experience with that. I'm sure over a longer period of time, it's different getting used to it. All ovens are different. You just have to be able to get used to it. You have to experiment, use different temperatures, see what works best for you. Because an oven, even if it's the same brand and you're using it, let's say when I worked at a restaurant, I had the same brand of oven that my friend had at her house, and I made the exact same item in the restaurant and the same thing at her house, and they were totally different things. So yeah, it's just there's so many different things that matter and all. So you just need to get to know your oven before you really settle on whether it's working right for you or not.
Right, important. Then with your mixers, do you prefer the handheld or the stand, and does it really make a difference?
I particularly have both. So I do use both. When I have a larger quantity, I use my stand mixer. But more often than less, I use my hand mixer. So for me, actually, I always have a backup of my hand mixer. That's very important to me, but I do use both.
Pasangh, do you think a food processor is really helpful in the kitchen? Because it is an expensive piece of equipment. I know we are very used to chopping without the food processor, but now you get a lot of options. So do you think you would use it, or do you use it?
I do use a food processor. I have a food processor, but it's not exactly what you're looking for when you're using a food processor. Like, let's say, just to if it's for just roughly chopping vegetables or something, it's okay. But if you're looking for some particular shape, all have to be exactly the same size, then a food processor is not the way to go. You want your chef's knife to be your best friend. Definitely.
Right. True. I know very few chefs really are happy with the food processor.
Yeah. Some appliances like, double beaters, hand blenders, those are some really, really helpful appliances in the kitchen.
Well, I put pressure cookers there because I know a lot of, I love the pressure cooker, not so much. I don't use it at all for vegetables and things, but I do think it's very, very necessary when you're doing your meats, especially your parsley cooking. It's much less time And I would be very lost without my pressure cooker. So to keep me happy, I have added it there. Let's move to cookware, because you get a lot available in the market today. In the old days, the Parsis all had their kallai na vasan, but I think there is no kallai wala left. I don't know if Grant Road still has a kallai wala, but you know, we've got the non-stick and the steel, and now the cast iron. I don't cook in cast iron. I find it very, very heavy to maneuver in the kitchen. I know a lot of people say aluminum brings with it all kinds of problems, but you know, hey, today everything on the internet, everything gives you cancer. So I honestly don't know. I think it's to each his own. But Pasangh, I know for a fact that you really enjoy cooking with cast iron. So tell us why you think it's better than using something else.
First of all, cast iron pans are, they're definitely not for everyone because they're really, really heavy. Some people even struggle with lifting the lid of a cast iron pan, actually, especially if it's your, what's the brand? Le Creuset or
Le
something like
Creuset,
that.
yes.
Yeah, if that's the really, really heavy one. So, you know, but definitely I would use that. I would use any cast iron pan because first of all, you know, it's like I was mentioning earlier, uniform cooking all over the pan is very, very important. Like anything that you make, all your meat pieces have to be the same consistency. You know, it has to be cooked in the same way. You don't want things to get stuck to your pan at the end of this. And cast iron really helps with that. It uses the least amount of oil that is needed, and for things like let's say for like shallow frying and stuff, cast iron is like the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rhea, what would you use for your brownie tins?
So for me, it's a mix. My brownie tins are all made in aluminum tins. That's the main those are the main cake tins and all that you get in the market that are also very cost effective. They're very durable. I use them every single day and I've been using them for years. And I also actually use a lot of silicone items as well. A lot of my cake molds and stuff, especially when they have more detail in them. Like if it's a particular shape or something, I find the silicone molds are much better.
Great. I should have added silicone here, but yes, I didn't think of it. Okay, this is any chef's treasure and the center of any chef's existence, any home cook. Now, you see only 4 knives here, but you know, most chefs sometimes their packing has about 8 different kinds of knives. I honestly do not think that every home cook needs 8 or 9 knives. I think you can well do with actually 3, because a chef's knife and a utility knife are very close, and you could just continue with a chef's knife. So I have listed 4 here. I'm not going to read every single line I've written, but I will just briefly touch on a serrated knife. I think it's very, very important to have one serrated knife in your kitchen. And by serrated, I don't just mean the bread knife, because the serrated knife allows you to cut very cleanly any tough skin, especially if it has a soft center like a tomato. If you use a serrated knife, you have a very easy time cutting those kind, you know, like peppers, bell peppers, tomatoes. They work cut beautifully with a serrated knife. Bread knife, very important, because there's a reason for those serrations. And I have seen very many people push down on a knife when cutting bread. That is not necessary. The whole idea of having a serrated knife is just to move the knife along the bread, and it will cut, because your bread loaf, which was this much, becomes this by the end if you are putting any pressure on it. So always have that bread knife. Don't use one knife for the other. each of the knives has a purpose. So your chef's knife is most versatile. It's got a broad blade. You can use it for almost everything. Your smaller paring knife is for, you know, tinier jobs, the mincing, the dicing. Okay, and then I say to everybody, please invest in a good knife. Knives are very expensive. There are a host of good knives available. Some brands are very good. The Japanese are supposed to be the best because the steel is very good. It's always a pleasure to work with a good knife. It saves time. Your work is very neat. Of course, the downside is you need to have a drawer full of Band-Aids, but I think that's a good downside to have. Unfortunately, a lot of us home cooks have never learned the correct technique of holding a fruit or a vegetable or meat while cutting. So all professional chefs will not have their fingers available for the knife to attack. It's always the knuckle that is in front and holds it. Whereas we who were never trained at prestigious Le Cordon Bleu always hold things with the fingers out, and therefore we need many more Band-Aids. But please, please do invest in a good knife. It is really worth that price. Pasangh, can you quickly take us through the difference between sharpening a knife on steel versus a whetstone, if there is a difference? And why do you think honing is so important?
First of all, whetstone is definitely the way to go. If you have, let's say you're using steel, like let's say if it's a Victorinox or a Wusthof or any Japanese steel as well, you know, you don't want your knife to have like a lot of different cuts, like your blade to have a lot of different cuts while it's still new. So whetstone is definitely the way to go. It takes a little longer, but it's definitely healthy for the blade of your knife. And honing is a very, very important, a honing steel is a very important tool to have for any chef, because while your knife is already sharpened, when you're using it every day, just before the starting of your work, you're just gonna hone it, like, you know, 4 or 5 times maybe maximum, and it's as good as new. So, you know, why wouldn't you do that over, you know, doing that to a sharpening steel where, you know, you're hurting the blade of your knife every time you try to sharpen your knife? Let me tell you, you're lessening the health value of your blade. Basically, that's what's happening. So a honing steel is a very, very important thing, and I would definitely use it over a whetstone or a steel or a sharpening steel.
Thanks, Pasangh. Chopping boards. My advice to everybody is please have color-coded chopping boards. You could, if you want, reduce it from 5 to 4 so that you use the same one for your red meat and chicken. But if possible, keep to 5. The reason being that of all your meats, chicken is the most dangerous in terms of bacteria, because Salmonella is the worst bacteria and the fastest to promote in food. When you are cooking with chicken, raw chicken, you must wash out your board and your knife immediately. We have this habit of when the maid comes, she will wash up everything and you will leave it on the side. That is not healthy when you're dealing with raw chicken. The rest, yes, it can wait. This is just a tip I'm giving you. Using different boards avoids this cross-contamination of harmful bacteria in your kitchen. Also, garlic, onions are strong odors. They can be easily absorbed into other foods. So breads pick up, you use the same onion knife on bread and it will immediately absorb the flavors. And that is just not done when you're running a professional kitchen. So you get these boards online. You get it in different thicknesses. You don't need to go for the 3-4 inches thickness. That's really for large kitchens. You can just work with the regular minimum. You can even work with a thin board, so long as you're comfortable working on it. But please try to use different boards for all your vegetables and your meats, your breads especially. A few more treasures in your kitchen drawer, and not just for decoration purposes. Peelers, you get them in two different kinds of peelers. Melon baller, if you want to do a nice presentation. Your lime squeezer avoids all those seeds that get into your food. Always have a nice array of spoons. Tongs are my absolute favorite. Because it's so much easier to use a tong to turn things when you're frying rather than have a fork and a spoon and try to, switch things over. And a microplane. Even I have to admit, I never knew a microplane existed for many years after working in a kitchen. It was only on one of my trips abroad and I asked my son, what is it that I can bring back for you? And he said, bring a microplane. And I said, what's that? He explained and I said, well, can't you just use the cheese grater? And he said, Mom, that was enough. So after buying a microplane and using it, I realized that the consistency and if you're grating cheese on a microplane, you get just the right texture and consistency. You can even use, nutmeg you want to grate, use the microplane. So it's not an absolute essential. It's just nice to have in your kitchen. I think kitchen scissors are a big plus. You can use them even to cut your chicken and things. It works very, very well. Again, if you're using it to cut raw chicken, please wash them immediately. And these are more baking. Rhea, in the weighing scales, would you go with either or you have a certain preference between manual and an electronic?
Definitely, I prefer digital weighing scale. It's way more precise and I definitely prefer it over my manual one.
Great. Mixing bowls, are they steel bowls or plastic?
I have both. I actually use my plastic bowls more. I don't know why. I just do, but I have both.
Okay. I know measuring cups and spoons, you get so many now. They always look lovely. You get them in colors, you get them in patterns. And a spatula must have, actually more than one, because I think it's important to keep your spatula for baking dishes, your sweets, desserts separately, your cooking one separately, and the one you use in your mixie for all your lal masala should be completely separate. Not only does it attract the color, but definitely the odors. And please, the silicone spatulas are good. Buy a good quality spatula because you definitely don't want it melting in your pot into your food. So a good quality spatula can take a lot of heat. You can, if you're making a white sauce, a bechamel, and you're on the stove stirring, spatula works beautifully because you can keep cleaning along the sides of your pan and it'll help. All right, I'm going to stop the share and open up for questions because I did see some questions. So we've come to the end of the first session. Sorry, let's just open the chat to see if there are any. Oh, there are, okay. Maruk asks, I have bought stainless steel cookers lately, but have found that the dal or food meat gets burnt or stuck at the base of the pan. Okay, Maruk, I always say avoid the stainless steel and go for the aluminum. Because yes, the steel, no matter what you do, the food does tend to stick at the bottom. I don't have any solution for that. It is just the nature of the metal. So when you get a chance, just go in for another aluminum cooker that works much better. Prochi asks, any specific brands or models in an oven you can recommend, be it for a hot or cold kitchen, in terms of performance, features, etc.? Rhea, would any of you like to take this question?
So honestly, I've always used a Westinghouse. I have always had that, and I really like that. I think Pasang, you may have more options of brands and stuff. Anything that you use?
I think for me, your usual brands like LG, Samsung is really good. IFBR is coming out with some really good ovens nowadays. So, there are a lot of options in the market.
Does consideration of energy efficiency feature in choices of oven? And does this affect certification in any way? I'm sorry, I'm really not able to answer this, but I don't know. Is that from Jaru? Hi, Jaru. I could put you in touch, with somebody who does deal in equipment. I was hoping to actually have him on board today. He does turnkey operations for restaurant setup. So I am sure that he will have some knowledge. So if you do, just send me a message. Okay, okay. Could you suggest a brand of microplane? Maruk, I know it's available. You can get microplanes available. Please check Amazon. I'm sorry, I do not recall. And mine is very, very old. So I don't recall the brand. But you should be able to get, Amazon has some pretty good ones. Can you specify the best digital weighing scale brands for a commercial kitchen? Accuracy and all models of unit measurements is a must. You want to answer or?
I think you get there are a lot of options. Again, I know for digital weighing scales, even if you check Amazon, they have a lot. I think there's Dr. Trust. There's a brand called Ionics that's also very good. I particularly have one which I've got from abroad. So I'm not sure if that brand is available here. But you get a lot of them. And yes, it is very important. Actually, I forgot to mention that your weighing scale has the ability to measure different kinds. So you want ounces, you want grams. For me, I have recipes which are half an ounces, cups, grams, all those kinds. So you do get weighing scales that you can change the mode of measurement.
Yes,
so
yes. Those are the best to have, because it's so versatile. That's right. What chopping board would you recommend, plastic or wooden? Farida, actually, there are pros and cons of both. I think it's a joy to use a good wooden board. I remember my grandmother had picked up some on her trips to Germany, and they were absolutely fabulous, lasted years and years. You don't get that kind of wood chopping boards here anymore. Wooden is good, but they say that it tends to retain bacteria. Again, plastic, the usage, you'll see a lot of cuts. So, frankly, it's as long as you maintain hygiene standards, it really doesn't matter. See what works for you. It should just be a good quality board. It should definitely, please don't buy cheap ones, because what happens, the wood, as you cut, and if you have a good knife, the wood tends to chip, and that is not healthy. So whenever you're buying equipment, I'm not saying you have to go for the very expensive, but certainly not the cheapest. You have to find a middle ground. Okay, sorry, Karishma. Yeah. Okay, so Karishma says, for the reason when there are new people starting businesses from home, it's always easier to start right rather than to correct later. I absolutely agree with you. And I do have contacts with people who set up kitchens. So if there is anybody who's looking for equipment, wants to change their equipment, please get in touch with me. I will put you in touch with somebody. I have somebody in Bangalore. I have somebody in Bombay. I'm sure we can find somebody in Hyderabad. I'm happy to help. Please message me either on the WhatsApp group or send me an email. Yes, Prochi, you can get in touch with me over email. It's Zarine, ZARINE .Kharas@gmail.com. Sure, and if I'm unable to help you, I will certainly put you in touch with somebody who will get you started in a commercial kitchen. How exciting. If there are no more questions here, I would like to move on. Anybody else, or can we move on to Amey's presentation? Just give me a moment to share his slides. I'm just going to add a pin. Oh, sorry, he's already spotlighted you. Okay, Amey, are you ready to begin? I will just, let me briefly introduce you to our viewers. So Amey Krishna was a contemporary restaurateur in Bangalore, where he set up and ran the vibrant Boondock Bistro around the same time that I was running my restaurant. His diploma with IIHM and employment with P&O Cruises had him equipped with the technical skills and the knowledge of kitchen management. He also spent time setting up and running a cloud kitchen, which catered to the IT sector in the popular Whitefield area of Bangalore. Amey feels that the current market trend, coupled with the pandemic, calls for a hub and spoke model of business. And he is currently in the conceptualizing and planning phase of this business. Amey is also well-versed in the licenses required to run a food business. And without wasting more of his time, I will let him take over. But Amey, give me a minute to please share your slides.
Sure. Sorry.
Great. So Amey is going to take us briefly touch on cloud kitchens, outlets and kiosks, the hub and spoke model, and licenses and registration. Yes, Amey, all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Zarine. Thank you for inviting me here with the presentation. Hello, everyone. This is basically what after the home kitchen? I mean, many people would ask, many people have started this business long time ago and want to scale up or want to move on to the next step, want to take the next step. So, the word is cloud kitchen now, or ideally a cloud kitchen is basically only delivery kitchen. It doesn't have a dine-in, or you don't have a revenue area. You don't have a takeaway counter or anything like that. It's just done through aggregators and online food enabled websites or mobile apps or your delivery partners. So basically a cloud kitchen is a virtual kitchen or a dark kitchen. It is known by various names, a ghost kitchen, shared kitchen, it only means that you are a hidden place. It doesn't need a face. I mean, it can be in a remote area, can be operated from a small space, which not necessarily is your home. It can be a smaller kitchen, or it can be a space where you're sharing it with other vendors, other brands. So there are different models in the cloud kitchen, ideally. So ideally, one is a single brand, single kitchen, like how you're running your home kitchen or a bakery or something from your home. It's only one brand and one kitchen. And the other one is like a single brand, but multiple kitchens, like a Fresh Menu or a Eat Fit, Box 8. These are particularly single brand, but they have multiple kitchens. Then you have multiple brands with multiple kitchens. It can be owned by different companies also, and you are sharing the space there. So somebody has that space, and then, or in one company, but different brands are done from that same, like Fasos, Bero's Biryani, or One Story. It's all owned by Rebel Foods, and it's been sold that way.
Okay,
and
so
then
sorry, I'll just clarify. So what you're saying is the kitchen, let's say, is owned by Rebel Foods, but they have different brands. So the Fasos has one kind of cuisine, then you have the biryani, which is another cuisine. So that's one kind of kitchen. Or
right.
Mr. A owns a kitchen and then divides that space between B, C, D, E, who run their own brands. Am I right? Is that the understanding?
Yeah, that is the access kitchen, like a Zomato ad kitchens, which you have, Okay. So he owns that whole kitchen, and then he lets out space, smaller space, like a small 200 square feet kiosk or something like that.
Okay.
But Rebel Foods is a company, a single company, but it has multiple brands.
Correct.
Under it. So why a cloud kitchen, or why would somebody go for a cloud kitchen? So ideally, a low capital investment, because it can be done from a smaller space, or area doesn't require a very prominent location or something like that. It can be done from a industrial shed kind of a space also. Low on rentals, of course, because you don't require a revenue area, so you don't need to be in a proper, it doesn't require a road-facing property or something like that. So you can go in for lower rentals there. Again, if you are doing multiple cuisines, you require, the same team. I mean, the helpers or the commies can be used in the other cuisines as well. So you require smaller teams. You don't require a chef for each cuisine or something like that. You can use your expertise and have small teams there. The cost again goes down with all these things. A low operating cost. It is simpler to manage. Ideally, you are managing 2 or 3 cuisines. It's like you're operating a continental restaurant or a Indian restaurant as well as a Chinese from one place. So it is easier to manage with one software, one billing software, and all your parcels or everything will be picked up from one location. So you can just do tie-ups with all the aggregators, and it will be picked up from one location. So thus the profit margins are better and your scalability improves after a period of time. Now, this is about a hub and spoke model where you can use one central kitchen and make smaller outlets in an area of, say, 5 to 10 kilometers. And what happens is your central kitchen provides all the the mother curry, the main curries, or maybe, for example, biryanis or everything. So all the recipes are cooked in one place, and then it can be supplied to different counters, which are owned by you again. But they are again smaller counters. You don't require bigger counter. It can be in an IT park. It can be outside say a shopping mall. But it will sell your food products. And here you don't require the entire kitchen equipment, entire setup to be done there. So these counters will only have a bain-marie or a microwave, as Pasangh said. It is very essential in every kitchen now. So, and you just need to reheat the food, repack it, or maybe a 2 gas burner where you can pan stuff and pack it and send it off from those outlets as well. So your standardized curries, your recipes remain the same from one mother kitchen, central kitchen, and there is no change of taste. And you don't require a chef in every chef or a high-skilled cook in every outlet. So these outlets can be managed by people who's a second mommy, or who can just toss up on food on a pan and pack it. You require just 2 or 3 staff per kiosk, and that can be. So the scalability, but each outlet will give you a business revenue for that periphery, that location. For another 5 to 8 kilometers of area, you can cover this. For example, if it is in Malad in Bombay, it can cover up to Andheri and also up to Daisar. So that is a kind of advantage here. So what we are looking at to make it a profitable business is choosing the right model. In this, what you need to check is whether you need to select a particular cuisine, or you are going in for only sandwiches, burgers, that kind of food. So choosing a right model which suits you. So if it's a kind of bakery, then you need to. Second point is raising investment for that. So the investment is not much in a cloud kitchen or to make these outlets. So if you are going in for a restaurant, you'd have to spend on a lot on interiors and the whole setup. But here you are scaling your business with a low investment. Locations, again, you need to identify locations where these are the footfall is more, or your business is good there. So then it involves the designing a functional kitchen, then the licenses and registrations. I think you have gone through all these other things like concept and menu designing and all these things.
Sorry, shall I move?
Yeah. So the main license required even for your home kitchen, just to start a kitchen, is the FSSAI license. If you are going in for a cloud kitchen, then there is a shop and establishment, there is a trade license, there are health license, many other licenses like the ones which we require for the normal restaurant. But if you are going in for a home kitchen only, then there is an FSSAI license which is required, which is again not a very difficult task. It can be procured with just these following documents which are there on the screen.
So Amey is talking primarily for Bangalore city. I do understand that every city has a little bit of a difference. The FSSAI is mandatory, but in addition, Bombay requires one more license. If anybody needs to find that out, please message me and I will put you in touch with somebody who is able to help you out. So if you are in Bangalore and you do need help with any of these, you know, what's listed on the slide. I think Amey will be happy to help you. Please do note down his number. You can reach him directly. You don't have to go through me. I know he will help you out. If you are in need of an FSSAI license, Amey has helped us recently in the month of March when the Bangalore chapter did their Foodpreneur program. He did help us out. So I'm absolutely sure that he will be of help to you all. Amey, thank you. I'm going to stop the share so that we can open this out. If there are any questions, does anybody have, let me open the chat. Do we need a license if we are using alcohol in our food products? Amey, you're on mute, Amey. I'd like you to answer this. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So again, license for liquor license, it depends on the scale, and if at all it's in a closed group or your sales are only through WhatsApp or something like that. But otherwise, you know, most of the Goan, as I'm a Goan, and you know, even the Parsis, they would have at least 10-20 bottles at home in their park. So I don't see a reason. But if it is sold on a bigger platform online, if the sales are done through online and in that quantity, then but otherwise, even through excise, yeah, there is a license which you can procure from the excise department. But it all depends on the quantity of liquor that is being used per day. So you get temporary licenses also. If it's over a festive season and you're going to do it only during Diwali or Christmas, we can get that a temporary license for that period of time.
Edel, we have to get you into the kitchen. I must have a word with Niloufar because you're saying you have absolutely no knowledge about cooking and restaurants. Very bad. She has not trained you. But Edel asks, is there anything like a commissary kitchen locally to help a person start their business? Do we have any concept of that? I mean, it's to my knowledge, no, I don't think so.
No, shared kitchens, there are a few in Bangalore, for what I know. But these are all commercial based. So it's not, yeah, during pandemic, a lot of these associations and they allowed people to cook in certain communities or college canteens or something like that. But yeah, I'm not very sure on this other cities.
Yeah, I'm a little, I'm really not so sure. You know, I found even when I was running the business that somehow in India, we are very, very hesitant and scared to share space, knowledge, recipes. You know, anybody who came into my restaurant and asked me, we had a dish called dahi bhida, which was a huge favorite with my customers. Even my hardcore non-veg customers would order a dahi bhida. And everybody asked me, oh, how do you make it? And I had absolutely no problem in sharing that. Those people were not going to start a restaurant with one dish of dahi bhida. And so what if they made it at home? It was not going to stop them from coming to my place. But very few people want to share and want to have these, you know, combined efforts. They're worried about losing out on customer base. And so I think this, you know, this kitchen that somebody will set up for somebody else to use, I don't think is something that's going to happen in the near future. That's my feeling. Sorry, Edel, not very helpful answer, but No, but now that I know about this cooking thing, I'll certainly be writing to Nilofer. Somebody, I'm sorry, doesn't have a name. It's from Galaxy M31. Says, can I make liquor chocolates? Oh, yeah. Okay.
As we've answered, yes, you can. Obviously, it depends on the quantity. And if it's in the closed group, I don't see any reason to have a license or something like that. Your sales are not going online. There should not be a problem.
And are you working from home, or do you have a separate, you know, a factory or a workshop where you make the chocolates? I think that also makes a difference, because if you've got a commercial establishment set up and you're working out of that commercial establishment, then better to have all your licenses in place. That's my understanding. Okay, have we answered your question? I'm really sorry, I still don't have your name. You're on mute. Okay, I'm a home cook. My name is Ishna. All right. Yeah, Ishna, so are you Rashna? Okay. Are you working out of home, or are you working out of a commercial kitchen?
Yeah, Zarine.
Yeah, hi.
I am a home baker.
Okay. So as Amey said, do you sort of, I guess you can just use it from home. Don't say that I said, yes, you could do it. I'm just telling you, I think you can do it. I mean, I think the rule clearly says that if you're using alcohol, you need an excise license. But
right. And there was a
as he says, it depends on how much business you're doing and where.
Right. Zarine, I have another question. This is regarding the FSSAI license. I had applied for it in November. I got a reply in January, this January, saying that my FSSAI license number is so-and-so, and it has been issued. And I have to take a printout of the license. But when I'm trying to take a printout of the license in the registration certificate, it shows that no application has been issued. So what does one do then?
Are you based in Bombay or Bangalore?
You're from
Bombay, Bombay. And I know Amey is in Bangalore.
No, I'll tell you what happens is, generally because of this pandemic, none of the BMC offices or BBMP in that case for Bangalore, they were open. Okay. So generally what happens is when you send out an application on the website, you will find a certain fee. That is 1,500, 2,000 rupees is what our fees are, the normal fees, government fees. But when the license has to reach you, I mean, somebody wants to deliver it physically. So that is a time they will do all sorts of, they ask for all sorts of other inspection. I mean, your water, whether it is tested or not. So there will be a health inspector who will come visit. So they are expecting some money out of it, to be paid to them. So
basically, I'm just a home baker.
Yes.
And I just do very little from home, see on a weekday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, something like that. And then somebody said, no, you might as well have a license because you can get caught. So I said, why play? And it was only 500 rupees. I applied for it and I got the number. This is your number, and take a printout. But when I'm going to do that, it says that is not applied. So what does one do now?
Now when you put a query or when you go back to the site and ask for it, they will say some documents pending, or there is a procedure which is pending. Something, there will be a reply from them to say that so-and-so procedure is pending. So ideally it has to be done through the officers who are there. So Zarine would be knowing when it's a restaurant, they will come look at the restaurant and charge you accordingly for the license. Whether the official fee is 2,000 or 3,000, doesn't matter. They will have a look at the restaurant and charge you accordingly. Similarly,
Rashna, let me try and see if I can get you some help for Bombay. If it were in Bangalore, I'd certainly tell Amey, but I will try to reach out to this person I know in Bombay and see if I can, he can help you out. Maybe if he knows somebody.
I'll be very happy.
Yeah. Please do send me a message, WhatsApp message, and so just as or an email, just as a reminder, please. And Kashmira, yes, home chefs do. Sorry, Rashna. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, sorry, that was it. I didn't have to say
anything. Kashmira, yes, home chefs do require FSSAI license. You should get it because you are in some way advertising about your food and you are doing a business. This is the very basic. It's not expensive. It's not a hassle, and you should get it. You can get it online. Are you based? I don't know where. I cannot locate you on screen. Yes. Kashmira, would you be able to talk? If you can please unmute. Are you based in Bombay or Bangalore? Oh, Pune. Okay. Let me see. Maybe I could. We could find somebody in Pune who could help you out with this. But am I right in understanding that FSSAI is a standard website across India?
Now it is. Now it is. It is a national website. But so then again, as somebody mentioned, in Bombay, she's applied, but it got rejected. So the end game is with the local authorities.
Yeah, that's everywhere.
So whether it's Pune, Bombay, Bangalore, it doesn't matter. So you will never get, unless you submit everything, unless you send them a water testing report, people who know all those procedures and they can send. Whoever has done it earlier, they can send it on their website. But otherwise, they will pick up a point and they will have their own way to.
Kashmira, I will try to put you in touch with somebody in Pune who may be able to help you out. Let me see what I can do to work this out for you. Any more questions? All right, then that will bring us to the end of today's session. We've covered a lot. Thank you everyone for your patience and the attention through this long session. Our next session is scheduled for the 2nd of August. This will be an interactive cooking demo with 3 home cooks. Nilofa Mabalwala will demonstrate a Parsi dish. Kanaz Badurji, who I believe makes the best quiches I have ever eaten, will demonstrate one of her specials. And Anaita Dhondi will help us come up with a dish from whatever is in your larder. The session, in all probability, will extend to 90 minutes or thereabouts. I am attempting to circulate the recipes prior to the session so that you can all follow the demo. But unfortunately, time will not permit you to cook along with the demonstrator. So please do not set up anything in your kitchen. And actually, it's much nicer if you can just watch and make notes on the recipe so that your full attention is on the cooking process. If you have any questions about the next session, please do put them on the WhatsApp group, or you can email me at zarine.kharas@gmail.com. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, Rhea, Pasangh, Amey. Your participation is truly appreciated. Good night, everyone. Stay safe and see you in 2 weeks. 15 minutes.